What's up, guys? My name is Dared, and I'm bringing you a DCUO water loadout. I've been playing with water for a couple of days now. I've had mixed feelings about this power for a little while, wanting to switch to it, but after I did, I enjoyed the power, but I think it does need some work with it. I think it needs some buffs, some just changing around of how it works. But besides that, it's a decent power. I'd say 7 out of 10. But right now we're going to go into our inventory, and we're going to show you the 3 mods that I say you should definitely get if you want to do decently with this power right now, at least with this loadout. You might have different mods. My mods might not be exactly correct, but with this game you can kind of play how you want, you know, with the latest update. So I used Accelerated Bubble, reducing the cooldown of one of our abilities, Bubble. Reserve Tank, to boost your maximum power pool by 5%, which I highly suggest because this is pretty power hungry. And Restorative Riptide, which heals you after using one of our moves, Riptide. Okay, now let's go and show you our loadout and our powers in it, and let me explain a little bit of what all these powers do and kind of water mechanics themselves. So the main functionality and basic power interaction of water is High Tide. High Tide allows certain water abilities to gain additional effects. Plain and simple, it's easy as that. Certain powers basically get to do certain things while you have that active. But after activating the power that has that buff on it, wipes High Tide off it. So, for instance, this power, Aqua Lance. If you're in High Tide, Aqua Lance deals damage over time. This effect removes High Tide. So what you would have to do is reactivate High Tide, basically, for if you want to use it on a different power. And we use that in our loadout to our advantage. We're using another power called Riptide, but we'll get to that. And for High Tide, if you use High Tide, if you are in High Tide, Shark Frenzy will deal critical damage. This effect removes High Tide. Plain and simple, nothing super duper complicated. You just have to reactivate it if you want to hit another power and do that extra damage or do that extra ability. So, going into it, first power, High Tide. Already know about that. Okay, second power, Bubble, is a shield. Plain and simple for that. But for damage roll, while inside a bubble, your attacks have a chance to do extra damage, which I find super useful, especially when you can have it up most of the time in this loadout. You're constantly doing extra damage. You're constantly being able to keep that up and doing more and more damage than what you usually would. I haven't seen anyone post this loadout yet, and I haven't seen them use Bubble like that. I've seen them use Bubble, of course, to do extra damage, but not like the way I'm about to show you. Our third ability, Riptide, which is one of my favorite parts of water. Summon a powerful current of water that removes cooldown of the previous water superpower you used. I'm going to need to show this one off a little bit. So basically, I activate Bubble, then activate Riptide, and the full cooldown of Bubble is gone. It's completely gone, and I can reactivate it if I want to. Boom, right there. Reactivated it. I wouldn't need to do that right now, but I would in the future, obviously, and then you have that at your disposal so you don't have to wait for a cooldown. Fourth power, Aqua Lance. Already took a look at that. Don't really need to explain that, but basically, if I have High Tide up and I hit Aqua Lance, it does a DOT. So you see Aqua Lance normally, no DOT. Gonna activate High Tide, have High Tide active as seen on my hands. Activate Aqua Lance, and now there's dot damage. There's dot damage on the opponent. Go back in the loadout. Shark Frenzy, if you're in High Tide, it does extra damage. It's just a damaging ability, nothing super unique or special about it. But this last ability, Tsunami Strikes, which is mainly what you're going to be doing most of the time, besides clipping stuff and hitting Shark Frenzy and waiting for your Aqua Lance DOTs, you're going to be hitting Tsunami Strikes. Because it's a combo ability, hit it, 2, 3, that's the end of it. And what that does, basically, is it removes, each hit of it removes 4 seconds from the High Tide cooldown. 4 seconds for every hit. That's basically 2.25 rotation. 2.25 rotation that you're getting off of High Tide. So you hit High Tide, Tsunami Strike, Tsunami Strike, Tsunami Strike, Tsunami Strike, Tsunami Strike, Tsunami Strike, and then hit one more, or you can wait, and high tide's all the way back up to full. All the way back up to full already. And that's what we're going to be using in our loadout. Okay, so the rotation itself isn't super duper hard or complicated. It just takes a little practice. Anybody can do it. It took me maybe like 10 or 15 minutes to make sure I fully have it down and fully learn it. It's still a little iffy here and there. So if I do mess it up once or twice, excuse me. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to pop High Tide, Bubble, and Riptide all at the same time. We're going to clip all three of these powers together. Then we're going to hit Aqua Lance. Then we're going to hit Shark Frenzy. Then we're going to hit Tsunami Strikes twice. Okay, that's the first part. So let me break it down more in depth. For High Tide, once we activate this, we'll have High Tide on our hands for a short... I don't know if it's for a long... if it's permanent or if it's for a short amount of time and it goes away. I'm not 100% sure, but all I know is we'll have it in time to activate the High Tide ability for Aqua Lance. Next power, Bubble, is our shield and damage buff. And then we'll hit Riptide, and what Riptide will do is it will reduce the cooldown of Bubble, and we'll have that back up for the next rotation. So we'll already have it up once we clip it with all three of these. Then we'll have it up again for the next rotation so we can clip it. That simple. And then hit Shark Frenzy and Aqua Lance, easy moves, and then we'll hit Tsunami Strike twice. Okay, now for the next part of the rotation. We're going to go into Shark Frenzy, and we're going to clip Shark Frenzy. Well, actually, we're not going to clip Shark Frenzy. We're just going to hit Shark Frenzy, wait for the animation, then we're going to clip High Tide and Bubble, then we're going to hit Aqua Lance, Shark Frenzy, Tsunami Strikes, hit that twice, Shark Frenzy, and I believe then we're going to hit High Tide, Riptide, and then this part, when you hit High Tide and Riptide will basically reduce the cooldown of High Tide again. So what you can do is then you can hit, because you'll already have High Tide up at this point, you'll hit Aqua Lance, which will do the effect, then you'll hit, and then you'll clip it into High Tide, which means you have your High Tide up again, and then you hit into Shark Frenzy, which will do the extra ability, then you'll do Tsunami Strikes twice, of course, then Shark Frenzy, and then I believe your rotation should pretty much be on track and keep going and keep doing that in order. Now, let's try and see if we can do this in practice and show you how to do it, firsthand. So you pop 1, 2, 3, Aqua Lance, Shark Frenzy, Tsunami Strike twice. Pop that, Aqua Lance, Shark Frenzy, Aqua Lance, clip into that. And that's pretty much it for that rotation. Then you go into Aqua Lance again, Shark Frenzy, Tsunami Strikes. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the full rotation, the full loadout. It does pretty decent damage. See right there, I didn't even finish the full rotation and it already did 227,000. I've hit 250,000, 270,000 with this loadout. No buffs, no anything. I feel like water is a pretty decent power. It does need some work, but I think we as a community and the devs will hopefully listen to us and hopefully, see that water is struggling compared to a couple powers, but I think if we get our SP up and we get our CR up, we'll be okay. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. If I need to help any of you with the loadout, if you have any trouble with it, please comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe for future DC commentary and videos. And I should be posting more videos here soon.